Well, welcome back once again. How's everybody doing out there? My name is JT on behalf of the Ethfinance Community on Reddit. And a big thanks to EVMavericks for hosting once again Happy Hour number 69. Number 69. Give us a thumbs up, smash a bell if you haven't already. Today, we have Brendan Asselstine. I want to say Asselstine. Is it awesome? Is that correct? I'll make sure to get that
perfect.
right.
Yeah, you got it, JT.
Yeah, I didn't want to do the Mel Brooks thing with the Frankenstein there on the end. So, Brendan Asselstine from PoolTogether, welcome in, my friend. It's good to have you here.
Thanks, JT. It's good to be here. I appreciate the invite. I'm excited just to chat and hang out. It's gonna be great.
Absolutely, man. We're glad you could make some time. Brendan is from a protocol called PoolTogether. We're going to learn all about that. But first, we have to roll into our intro. The Weekly Doots live stream is all about showcasing the best of the week from the Ethfinance community on Reddit. This is a read-along reaction series. And if you want to follow along, head to dailydoots.com, designed and produced by our very own Hanny Abu. And while you're at it, go grab today's Poe app, now available for checkout on Ethereum, Arbitrum, Optimism, and Base. Big thanks to Turkey Troll for capturing and curating each day's Doots, and the A word for curating this beloved weekly list. This podcast is available on Libsyn, Spotify, Pods.media, and Apple. Give us a few hours. We'll have this episode ready to mint as well on Optimism. Thanks to Pods.media. Find us there at pods.media/EVMavericks. If you're watching the stream on Discord, welcome in. Just be sure to mute my window, and that'll avoid some echo in your headphones. And as always, if you know somebody who wants a piece of this action, wants to jump on the show, send them my way. So with that, let's jump right in. Guess what just happened, friends? Super Fizz went to 201. He's the first duder to go over the 200 mark. But we got a newcomer on the top 10. Let's see. No, this can't be right. Moscus at 20. No way. Okay, this is not correct. K-Brod at 60. We're going to roll with it. Benito 2030 at 128. Logri the Bard at 132. And Super Fizz at 201. We got a number situation. Let me refresh this page. I'm curious if it just needed a refresh. Oh, no. Hanny Abu, we got something broken. Well, we know for a fact. I know for a fact that Super Fizz eclipsed the 201 mark. Very good. All right, moving along. We've got the morning roundup. We got Ethereum by Hey Chibi. Frank the Tank chimes in a price of $37.55. Uses Bink video at 90,496 hodlers subscribed, and $10.9 at 0.0548. Did we really pump at $37.55? That can't be right. Did we? I gotta look. I haven't checked the price. No, it's at $34.84. What is going on? All right. Well, whatever. Here we go. The weekly haiku, courtesy of JS Tears. Once you can't ignore, gas burns like never before. Still ether, condor. Oh, man. Somebody gave me a definition for that word. How does he do it? JS Tears, how do you do it? And our shit post of the week, because we always like to save the best for first. User Tom the Moose says, today's the day, boys and girl. I'm wearing my finest t-shirt and shorts with the least amount of stains. The wife asked me, what's the occasion? I told her, the future of France is happening. She rolled her eyes. But I know you understand. I'm cool as a cucumber. And there's your shitpost of the week, courtesy of Tom the Moose. Well, we're going to switch right back over to Brendan from PoolTogether. My friend, thank you so much for joining today. Now, my recollection of PoolTogether is that it's a way for a lot of people to like kind of collect their crypto for a chance to win things. Now, this is just my simpleton brain with little molecules smashing together from years ago. To be quite honest, it's been like a couple of years since I've heard about PoolTogether and all the things that you're doing. But I will say, I did mint some Pooly NFTs. I've got at least a couple of the birds. Yeah. So let's go back a little bit when the project started, where it started, and then go over a little bit about what those Pooly NFT birds were all about, and then we'll move into today's current status of Pool Together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so PoolTogether, like you said, it's last time you checked in was a few years ago, and we're kind of an OG project that way.
Yeah.
We've been building for over 5 years now, which in that lifespan, you've seen thousands of projects grow and die. So we've been really lucky to be able to persist and survive through the bear markets, the multiple cycles. But you got it right back at the beginning, and we still are now a prize savings account. And what that is that it's exactly what you said. Everybody brings their crypto together, and perhaps you could hold ETH, you could hold wrapped Bitcoin, you could hold USDC, whatever you want to hold. And any yield that deposit generates is then combined into a prize pot, which is then dispersed as big prizes. So it's like you essentially have a chance to win everybody else's yield.
Oh,
and
wow.
So it's a way to gamify savings so that you have a high upside, but you don't risk your principal. So you get to take it out whenever you want. You can withdraw, no questions asked, no fees or anything like that. So it's actually a known existing system called premium bonds. Biggest ones in the UK, government run. I think they have like 200 billion in deposits approximately, and a portion goes to roads and hospitals, like public infrastructure, and the rest is allocated as prizes to the users. Walmart also runs another one in America, and I think that one started in 2018, and as of 2020, it was a few billion. So it's a very well-known financialized product. But what makes it work so well on the blockchain is that it's provably fair, it's verifiably random, it's globally accessible. It just makes so much sense for it to be on the blockchain. So when we started, we began, it was a very, very simple iteration where you just had one asset that you supported. And then we began to essentially get more and more elaborate. So we're now in the fifth generation, the fifth iteration. And that's what we've launched just a few months ago, where you can now hold any assets you want and participate in the grand prize. So you could launch a vault for, Curve USD or any new asset and begin to participate, have a chance to win the grand prize. And we're launching across all L2s, EVM sidechains, and L1s. And we're growing like steak. It's great. It's a lot of fun. But what you're referring to with the Pooly is, so this began, I guess, 3 years ago or so. There was a lawsuit against us in the state of New York.
That's right. Okay, that's right. I remember it being like almost like a legal defense fund kind of thing. I chipped in on it.
It was a civil suit. The guy was alleging that he experienced injury because he lost money on gas when depositing to Pool Together. It's like, well, gas goes to the Ethereum network fees, and then he actually won. It's funny, he won a prize and never withdrew it. I think it's still there. But so it was kind of just a way to attack crypto. We believe it was politically motivated, and so we spent a good year and a half and a lot of resources putting together a very strong defense to fight that. And then it culminated in us needing to get a bit more cash to do the final push to defeat the suits. And so Pooly was a way for people to contribute to that, to defend DeFi, because every case that's lost or won sets a precedent. And so we need to be as unified and as strong as possible in defending DeFi and crypto against people that have alternate, goals, that don't want crypto to be successful or want to squash crypto in any way. So it was a way for people to rally together and support us, DeFi. And the case was defeated. It was thrown out. So it worked in the end. We're still here. We're still building.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if there was, like, because that lawsuit took place in the state of New York, hopefully that kind of I feel like they've kind of got their stuff together when it comes to regulatory framework and stuff like that. Hopefully that's going to set a precedence that you can't come after your team again for such an asinine claim. It sounds like you guys have been pretty much legally fine. That was the kind of the major hiccup.
Yeah, that was the only thing.
That was, and that's just unfortunate that somebody would, early on in your guys' development, they wanted to try to extort a loophole, I guess, but it's like, it's so hard to box crypto into traditional, framework of terminology and thinking. And I think that's to your
Yeah,
benefit.
and especially because we're a project that is really trying to promote financial health, and that we want to help people save their money, whatever crypto you want to hold, but have a chance to win a massive amount of money. And there's so many projects, there's so many other like actual scammy projects out there,
Yeah.
and so it was kind of just tone deaf to go after us when we're one of the kind of bright lights in the space. We've never been hacked, amazing security track record. We only do the best for our users, and yet we see there's so many other just meme coins out there, even that are just rug pulls that are actually problematic and are taking people's money, and those are the ones that should be attacked. It's yeah. Anyway, but it's defeated. It's one and done, and now we're moving on, and we continue to deploy, continue to build, and really excited to still be here.
Awesome. This is Brendan Asselstine from PoolTogether. And anybody that's on Discord that wants to ask any questions directly at any point in time, go ahead and unmute yourself and have at it. So I was cruising on the PoolTogether website, and boy, howdy, things have changed. There's so much stuff going on now that wasn't there before. When you come to the website, it was the familiar purple, the bird and everything like that. And I'm like, yeah, this looks clean. And then I started poking around. Looks like you got a whole like community area here. I'm streaming on Discord where it shows you this thing that you got a chat, you got forums, you got voting, you got grants, you got a community calendar, and then you got the different interfaces. And within the interfaces, I see Cabana app and Pool Time app. And then Cabana
Migration
migrations.
developed by my team.
Okay.
And then Pool Time is actually developed by the community, by another community team that started up.
Oh, okay.
That's called Pool Time. And so it's cool that we've got two separate interfaces. So if there's ever an issue with one, the other one's available. So we have a kind of redundancy there, and they offer different experiences. So it's it was really cool to see.
Take me through Cabana.
This is one of my favorite parts. So Cabana is our front end for PoolTogether, and it shows you all the vaults that are available across all chains, how much the prizes are for each of these vaults. You see them all. A lot of them are the same, and it's because each chain has its own prize pool. So while all the vaults on the same chain share the same prizes are per chain. So we're not moving liquidity around, doing anything fancy like that. It's very, very straightforward in that all the liquidity on base, for example, is the base grand prize. We've got the optimism grand prize, arbitrum, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why you see multiple prize tiers. And we've got some great partners. Optimism has been a long-time partner of us. And so they've given us a lot of OP tokens to give away as incentives. And we're also lining up more incentives through ARG and Rocket Pool. And so it's really great. Like coming back to the original conceit is that you have a chance to win everybody's yield. Fundamentally, that's PoolTogether. That's how it works. But we partnered with so many different protocols and chains that we're also pumping many additional incentives into the machine. So it's now just kind of a prize machine is maybe a better way to put it. So you just deposit your funds, tons of incentives, tons of prizes. And we see people every day in Discord. Definitely, if you want to see the celebrations, come into the Discord because people always like to take screenshots and grabs. And I think there was one fellow that had 1,800 deposited and won like 280 or something the other day. So there's your outsized rewards. There's what's possible with this protocol.
So you said there's a Rocket Pool integration. Rocket Pool's got a lot going on with their tokenomics of the RPL token possibly changing, and
and so what we're integrating with them, which I'm really excited about, is so Rocket Pool is restaking, right? And liquid staking token, and they have bridged their tokens to Optimism, but the actual yield is not like on-chain accessible. It's only accessible on Ethereum in the sense that what each rep is worth in terms of ETH. They are bridging that information to Optimism so that you can essentially deposit ETH, but have that earn Rocket Pool yield. And so our new integration with Rocket Pool is basically going to support RETH on Optimism, but it's actually going to use the RETH yield, which is really cool. It's not just going to be some assets that sits there. We're actually going to be able to leverage the yield. And of course, we're getting a lot of incentives to incentivize that. Optimism really wants more liquid staking tokens on their platform, on the super chains. And so, yeah, so we'll probably be launching that in the next, I would say in the next month or two. Rocket Pool's been doing a lot of updates. They're like you said, they've been very busy, but the code that they are going to launch has been audited. It's ready to go. It's undergoing the final changes. So I'd imagine in the next month, perhaps, they'd be launching it so we can integrate it.
And they got an integration on base with flat money. I just feel like Rocket Pool is just starting to like blow up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they've got a great team.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're working hard.
I worked with them with some EVMavericks doing how to stake on Rocket Pool. It's called Rocket School. It's a whole video series or whatnot. But yeah, that's neat that you guys are going to have a Rocket Pool integration on PoolTogether. Okay. So I'm looking at Cabana.fi and I see all of these prizes. So for instance, Aave USDC, the prize is up to 13,000. Like, at what interval does that take place? Is that quarterly or is it biannual or annual or is it?
Click on it. Click on the prize USDC. Yeah. On the button on the left.
Okay.
And so you can see that
wow. Okay.
total prizes like 13 grand. But it's what happens is that there's a daily draw and there are prizes that occur every single day. Then there's prizes that occur every 10 days or so, and then every 3 months or so.
Okay.
So what it does is it takes all the yield and think of it as like it has multiple buckets, each which fill up with a portion of the yield, but each which have a different frequency of occurring. So like the daily bucket happens daily. Then you've got a whole different spectrum of buckets between that and every 3 months. And what's really cool, and so I just love this algorithm. Basically, if the prizes get big enough, then it expands the number of buckets, the number of tiers, we call them. And so if this does grow to be like $1 billion in deposits, the number of buckets will grow such that there's still daily prizes and there's still prizes every 3 months. But the daily prizes are tuned to be make sure that they're like $2 kind of thing, a couple of bucks. Because we want that kind of like, that sort of scratch and win, super likely, but, smaller outcome. So like the $1 prize, the $2 prizes. We want that because we want people to get those hits. We want people to make something. But we also want the big fat grand prize. That's the big tantalizing one that everybody is excited about. And what's interesting is that we ran the previous version 4, for a good couple of years, and we did it manually. We configured the prizes manually, and we tuned it and eventually found that that's what worked best. Is we wanted a lot of small prizes so people get those hits, but we also had a nice big fat prize that draws people in. And so we ended up automating it for V5. And so this system you're looking at has absolutely no admin controls. It's fully autonomous. It's immutable. It's unchanging. It's designed to last about 136 years before gracefully shutting down. So this is DeFi right here. There's no one that can change this. No one can control this. No one can custody this. And I love that. I love that this is bulletproof infrastructure for prize savings now that anyone in the world can use and rely on and build against without any fear of it being changed or taken away.
So this is kind of like a fun thing to do if you got some idle money, just you never know. It might hit, it may not, but it's like you got a chance every day, and if you spread it out enough. So that's a pretty neat little dopamine thing, for avid users to be, looking through these different pools and different assets and just, you can kind of go fishing a little bit if you have some assets laying around and just, you don't plan on spending them, just you could deposit them into PoolTogether and away you go. That's really fantastic. Is there anybody on Discord that has any questions? I see we got some regulars in here. I know a lot of us are in our working daytime working hours. Logri the Bard's been busy. I see you in the chat, my friend. That dude right there. He's busy making he's busy making compute. I'll just say that. But Is there okay? So the Pool Time app. So this, let's go to that for a second. So the Pool Time app was developed by the community. Did you say
Yeah, by the Pool Time team,
the
which
Pool
was
Time
formed
team? Okay,
from community members. Yes.
gotcha.
And one of them is here today, under the sea, or and under ETH sea, and the Discord chat
Oh,
is
nice.
the main developer behind it. So there you go. We got another person you can ask any questions about the Pool Time.
Yeah, under the sea. If you want to unmute and join the conversation, that'd be great. But if you're busy under the sea and you can't come up for air, understand. So it's kind of like a mirror of the Cabana side of things, maybe just a little bit different in the way it works.
Yeah, I think what's cool about Pool Time is that they actually have a database, so they track a lot more information than we do. With our front end, we rely on the graph. Have you heard of the graph protocol, like the GRT token, all that stuff?
I have, but give us a little overview of that.
Well, yeah. So the graph is a decentralized indexer. So they wanted to make it easy to read data from the blockchains because blockchains are notoriously difficult to read data from. You have to just kind of sip it through the straw of an RPC call. And so the graph offers this indexing system where you can create this indexer and then it runs in a decentralized way on their infrastructure. But it has some severe limitations, and so we haven't been able to do as much as we want with it. But what we love about it is that it is decentralized and it is very its uptime is great. It's very has a lot of redundancy, but there's nothing like having your own database, and so that's why PoolTime offers some additional statistics, a bit more background. They're slightly different beasts. I wouldn't say that they're mirrors of each other by any
Okay.
means, but yeah. But
Any
Under the Sea could speak to it more if you like. If you want to drop in Under the Sea, we call him Fertile because of his icon there as well. The short name, nickname.
oh turtle. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So okay. So if he's gonna stay muted, he's busy catching oysters or something down there.
yeah.
So
Exactly.
what's next for Pool Together? Is there anything on the horizon you'd like to let our listeners know about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we launched V5 late April, so it's only been a couple months since it's been live, and our community has been deciding on what chains to move to next, but also deciding on how much we want to pump these prize pools. And so I think this is where things get exciting is we want to, instead of waiting for the yield to accrue, we want to leverage a large portion of our treasury to pump these prizes up, to make these prizes like we're talking like 5, 6 figures kind of thing. And so that's what the governance is deciding right now is how much should we put into these things? How many additional incentives should we put into these things? And also pairing another pool distribution. So the pool token is our native token, and it was used for governance. I mean, it still is used for governance, but it now serves a greater purpose of value by allowing you to increase your chances of winning. So you can actually deposit pool now into V5. And essentially how that works is that the pool token is in another vault, just like all these other vaults, but it doesn't have native yield. Instead, it takes a portion of the other vault. And it's a fairly small portion. I believe it's like it runs from 8% down to 5% or even lower, maybe 4% as the tiers scale up. But what that means is that you're essentially getting staking yield. And so you can stake your pool tokens. And so it's a share in the yield volume of the protocol. And we're looking at distributing more of these pool tokens because we want to continue to decentralize. We want people to earn ownership of this thing. And so not only are we going to be pumping prizes, but we're also looking at distributing pools. So the best time to get in is now. It's all based on time, the amount of time you've been in the protocol. It's also, that's because it's a way of weighting chance fairly. But it means that anyone who's been in for longer will get a larger portion, yada, 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 all that kind of stuff. So I would say that is probably the most exciting thing that's happening is that these prizes, like you saw the prizes on base, on the base, it's been pure organic yield. And that's why it's only like $2,200 because it's only been live for like a month and a half or something like that. But that's why we're just going to jack everything up and really pour the nitro into this engine and see what happens. So we're really excited about that. That's probably the biggest development. And also Treebeard there in Discord says when mainnet, and that is also on the books, is in a couple of weeks we want to going back to mainnet, and we're very excited to get back to Ethereum. Albeit it is a different beast because of gas costs. Like depositing is tens of dollars instead of L2 fees of pennies. And so we are still looking at how to adjust the parameters to make sure that it still performs optimally. It still kind of works as intended, but we do have a clear path now. We've been doing a lot of experimenting, so very excited about that as well.
Do you feel like you wake up every day ready to have fun?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? We're here to change the world. We're here to have a good time and do something new, do something creative, do something different. And I wouldn't be in any other industry. This is just so much fun to be here.
It is. 100%. And to be, for you, especially to be a part of a project that has been, 5+ years in the space and relatively hiccup free. You guys are just rocking. You never stopped building in the bear markets. You just keep grinding. I was going to ask you, is there any jurisdictional restrictions? I didn't ask that earlier. Like, can people in the U.S. participate, or does this?
People in the U.S. can participate.
Okay.
So we've done a lot of research there. We fall mostly under sweepstakes regulation because there's no consideration, as it's called.
Okay.
Not only that, but we're actually looking to blow out more sweepstakes features. And imagine okay, this is another kind of exciting thing that is pretty nascent still, but we're experimenting with a few partners and they really like it. We're experimenting with the ability for people to give NFTs a chance to win.
Oh,
so you can just hold this NFT and then you just get sent ETH if you win a prize. So they don't even have to do anything. You don't even have to come to Cabana. You just hold an NFT and you start getting prizes. And so we're partnering with some different projects, wallets in particular, so that these wallets will mint NFTs to their users. And then they'll basically subsidize, essentially contribute to the prize pool on behalf of the NFTs. And then all these holders, they'll have a chance to win. They'll just start getting ETH. And it's cool too, because we've been thinking about pitching this to the Coinbase. Do you know the Coinbase Smart Wallet? Have you heard of that?
Yep.
Yeah. So they, what's great about it, they're really pushing adoption, pushing widespread mainstream adoption. And what we could do is set it up so that when this person who's holding this NFT receives the ETH, they now have gas to transact. So it's kind of cool. It's almost like if they want a prize, it unlocks the ability to interact with the blockchain. So I think there's so many different things we could do there to really bring people on board, but also view PoolTogether under a different lens. Use it as a foundation to build interesting utility and abstractions on top of it. So we're just continuing to innovate, and these NFTs are going to be a fun place to build out.
I wonder how this could work with Kevin walking the green pill movement and public goods to where prize money. I'm trying to think of how to frame this, but the winner, as part of, let's say I'm a public goods minded person. I want to have some of my money that I win go to, I don't know, just the Ethereum research or something like that, where you could do a 50-50 split to your favorite charity or something along those lines. That's kind of a neat idea. But back to the NFT thing. I know Logri the Bard's probably burning here, but he would say, how can PoolTogether and the EVMavericks get on board and, even to test this out? So I
nailed it.
There he is. I knew he would unmute. Logri, do you want to ask the obvious question I knew you were going to ask?
Well, you asked it quite well. So with every guest that come on, I like to try to at least brainstorm how the EVMaverick DAO can help you with your purpose, with your mission, how we can get involved.
Yeah, well, fantastic. I mean, there's all sorts of ways we could collaborate. I mean, this newest venture that we're talking about, not venture, but feature would be if you guys do have EVMavericks NFTs or something like that on one of the chains we're on, we could do one of these kind of integrations where we do an EVMavericks PoolTogether integration where any holders of this NFT win ETH. That'd be pretty cool. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
And we've only got 1,324 NFTs in our collection. It's a very small Like, it's very rare the fact that the
There's 80,000 lurkers, but there's 1,300 and something people that posted and got the NFT in this free draw.
Okay.
you know
Well, that's cool. So you probably know who would win then, because they'd be in the Discord. They'd be like, "Hey, I won the prize." So that's cool. It's a nice small community then.
it's
That's great.
this was the first, as far as we're aware, this was the first retroactively awarded NFT based on Reddit karma and the amount of times people made comments in the daily active participants. The meme number 324, we had a user that, you remember when we hit the previous all-time high of like $1,400 a few years ago? On the way down, he was saying we're going to hit $324.
On the whole way up, he was like,
On
"No,
the
this
whole
thing's
way up,
overpriced."
it's gonna
And we're
crash.
like, "Ha ha 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 ha! We're
ha, ha.
1,400. We're never gonna hit 324. We hit 100."
Yeah. That massive 90% drop or whatever. Anyway, so 324 was the meme number, the price. And then we decided to add 1,000 to it. So 1,324 Mavericks were dropped to usernames that provided a wallet address that were on the rich list of number of comments in the daily over the given amount of time that the Reddit API would allow. So to our knowledge, that was the most community-driven retroactive NFT ever produced. You didn't even know you were going to get it until the announcement came out that you could provide, hey, you've been selected if you provide a wallet address. Well, anyway, so
That's cool.
It's
Maybe
different.
that's the new meta, is secret coins.
Yeah.
'Cause you don't even tell them.
Bingo, dude.
You guys are going to get something, but just do stuff, and maybe you'll get something.
I like that.
Some other random ideas, just brainstorming. There was an NFT project a couple years ago called Crypto Trunks, which turned into Wallet Garden, and I had proposed using the NFT tree as a wrapper, like in a crucible around carbon credits. So you'd have a tree that grows with the amount of gas that you've used that you can offset, like from brown to green, using carbon credits that are wrapped in there. And we could package those into an interest-bearing carbon credit that would like self-compound. Think like a urine vault that would constantly compound at some APR and sponge up more carbon credits and more carbon credits every year. We could, then you make a forest of those things as a social community, and then you stick those onto something like PoolTogether and use the prize pools to auto compound the underlying carbon credits in the forest.
Interesting. Yeah, that'd be very cool. I like the idea of just doing something very concrete with the carbon credits as well, like just planting trees or what have you. All this reminds me of, and I do want to speak to an earlier point, JT, that you brought up, which is public goods funding. So it also ties in with something that EVMavericks could do if they wanted to, if you guys wanted to, which is anyone can go and create a new prize vault. And we support now all these different yield sources like, Yearn and Aave and soon Morpho. And you can actually take a portion of the yield. So the owner of the vault, this is actually probably the only, this is the only kind of admin, but the owner of vault, the one thing they can do is take a portion of the yield. And we've actually had, so the Pool Time team use this feature. We've had this feature for a while in past versions. And Pool Time used the feature to fund a well, the building of a well. And so this is exactly the kind of public goods you're talking about. And let me just load up the URL. I think it's save to actually Under the Sea. Are you still listening? Can you drop a link to the old Steph.win? That's right.
Let me open it up here.
Yeah. And so this is an effort that the Pool Time team put together, and the well got built. It was pretty cool. Now there's a new goal, which is feed the children. And so this is a public good, and this is exactly what, for example, going back to the UK premium bonds, this is a really important feature of it, so that you have a chance to win prizes, but there's also like an actual like concrete good that you're doing also as a consequence. So it's sort of like a social enterprise in that sense.
Sure. So we could set up something like, if I was to engage with them, I'd say like, okay, well, you should figure out not just to buy carbon credits, but you should figure out like planting forests as like real life forests that match the size of the online forest, right? And then for EVMavericks, our DAO's constitution is education. right? That we are an education-focused DAO. The purpose of the DAO is to spread truth instead of misinformation across, the crypto Twitter, which is a fool's errand, yes, but we try. So if we're going to set up some type of public good funding, it would be for educators in the space, and the people, the EVMs could vote on like what the weight of that the prize pool allocation type of thing could be, right? And set up something like that, and that sounds like an interesting project to me.
Okay, well, Brendan, any other things you want to chat about with PoolTogether before we move on? The other, I guess, one last question I have is regulatory, guidance. Are you guys getting any pushback? Do you feel a certain way about the way policies and regulations are going? Is there anything in a U.S. centric view that has you concerned, or do you feel like it's just keep the grind alive? We're doing fine.
Well, that's an interesting question, and we kind of in line with the fact we've never been hacked. We've really tried to be as by the book as possible, even though the book hadn't been written yet. We were very much kind of going by prior art in the ecosystem, as well as our own kind of guiding morals, I guess. And we pursued decentralization from the start. We have always valued the ability for anyone to push this protocol forward. And if you look at, there was an attempt at legislation that was dropped a few months ago by the Republicans, I think. And I read through what they were trying to define was the difference between, like, where does a token become a security versus a commodity? They were looking for that line. They're trying to define that line. And there are some really important elements to that, like, no one in particular controls more than, I think it was like 20% or something of the tokens. There was another aspect that the kind of there has to be a sort of pure genesis. Like when you give out the tokens, well, you can't do it. You can't sell them, obviously, but you also have to kind of do it in one shot. And another aspect was you couldn't rug. So you couldn't dump your tokens within the first year. So there are some like baseline requirements for these projects to really kind of define themselves. Like, no, this token's a commodity, and we have met all of those requirements. Granted, that is just paper; it is not law. It is not actually become anything yet. But the indications are clear that there are some important distinctions between actually decentralized projects and security/rugs. And that's what they're really trying to identify. And so we fall squarely in the commodity category, and we have like a functionally decentralized protocol, which is great. It's also decentralized in terms of the contributors, the people working on it. We've got multiple teams on it. And so I think in terms of our stance, I think we have a very strong stance with respect to any future regulation that might pop up.
You're going to kick their ass in court and pants them just like Coinbase is going to. It's not going to be a problem. I mean, directionally, the winds have shifted, and directionally, I agree that decentralization is the right vector, because if the goal of the SEC is to protect investors, you have to say protect them from what? From the harm of centralization and centralized actors doing something they shouldn't. From the harm of centralized rugs, right? So if you can't identify a vector by which an investor could come to harm, what the fuck are you regulating, right? How are you protecting investors? It is directly contradictory to the mission statement of your of the SEC. So I mean, I think that the victory on this is inevitable, not just for tide of technology reasons, where like DeFi is unassailable and it doesn't matter what the US does, it's going to continue to thrive. Just maybe push it offshore for a couple of years until the economic pressure causes us to buckle. But even outside of that, even in the US now, the winds appear to have shifted. And if you just take it as a judge who doesn't like the bullshit that the SEC is doing, and at this point, they're running out of judges to make a bad impression on, right? They've gotten They've lost several cases. There's not that many judges in that court circuit. It just seems like you're probably going to come into a courtroom with someone who's already said, like, the SEC is dishonest and the corruption goes to the top. Like, that was basically a direct statement of one of the judges in the ruling. If you get in the courtroom with that judge and the SEC shows up with some more BS, it's just not going to go well for them, right? And
Yeah,
I hope all
absolutely.
the poolies gave you all the money that you need to pursue that legal suit and really hammer out a better world. Because the US is so centric to the growth of this technology around the world, just the velocity of adoption. And we really need this technology because we're pioneering human coordination. Like, there's not many other places where that is being worked on as a technology to keep up with, I don't know, arms, nuclear proliferation, or the dangers of AI and centralization or whatever. But this is where we are pioneering human coordination as a technology. And God knows we need a lot more of that to solve big, global challenges and suppressing that growth because of antiquated regulations and the ego of, like, someone that just doesn't seem to like us for whatever reason, takes a threat to US power. We really need champions like Pooley to pull together to stand up and just not settle, right? And just take them to court and force legislation by what's it called? Enforcement, right? Well, that works both ways. You get precedent on your side, and now you're defying the legislation in courts against the SEC and narrowing in the evils that they can do. So thank you for having a spine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're all ideologues here. We all feel very strongly about this tech, about its possibilities, what it can do. And so, there's no running away from this. I also don't think there's any way to stop this at this point. I think crypto at this point is just inevitable, and you can either join it or you could try to fight it. But like you said, it's just going to move offshore. I mean, it already has. Like, everyone's running, Caymans or, other kind of DAO structures combined with corporations or nonprofits offshore. So that's already the norm,
and developers.
Bring it into the fold.
The actual talent is moving offshore. If you look at the Electric Capital report, it shows a clear trend year over year. Every year, we're losing pie chart in the U.S. in terms of developers in the U.S. compared to overseas. So, like, the innovation is moving offshores. Certainly, the capital flows are moving offshores. I like to say that censorship is a blade that's dulled by its ever use. And Gary Gensler is doling his blade at this point, it's taken a few good nicks, and it's running out of the ability to cut, right? And so one way or another, as you say, this is inevitable. DeFi is unassailable, and they can only fight this for so long before the dam breaks.
Yeah, big banks don't like capital formation that they can't control.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the best part is Brendan and his team from PoolTogether having fun all along the journey of this capital formation thing that we're all participating in. We're really thankful you could stop by, and you don't have to go anywhere. If you do, just make it an Irish goodbye, because we're going to move right into our Doots of the week. You want to stick around? We'd love to have you.
Well, JT, I want to say thank you very much for having me on. It's been really nice chatting, and I really like this format. It's been a lot of fun.
It's nice,
and I'm glad you appreciate that about the team. It's funny that that's a highlight, but it's absolutely true. Is that we wanted to build a product that's fun, and we've been having fun doing it. It's been great. It's been a flight. So I'm really glad I could share that with you guys and meet the community. But I should get ready for stand-up. So I am. This is not an Irish goodbye, though. This is a proper goodbye. But it won't be a Midwest one. It won't take a while.
Yeah.
But,
you're not going to do the whelp with the knee? You're not going to do whelp?
Yeah.
Slap the knee?
Exactly. And let's have one little less small talk before I go.
I'm from Kansas, dude. It's like, I always tell family members, like, we're going to be walking out the door 1 hour from now, so get started.
Yeah, exactly. Get started now.
Well, thanks for stopping by, my friend. Take care.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you guys.
See you. Bye-bye. Awesome, man. Great interview. It's so good that he was able to make it on here today. Let's see. I got something going on with my Zoom. There it is. How about that? I got an overlay. I think I can do one. Yeah, that doesn't work either. All right, moving on. Actually, I don't even think I need Zoom on anymore, do I? He's gone. What a great conversation. Brendan from PoolTogether, just just a great mind in the space. He was telling me before the call went live that he's actually OG ETH trader and a Ethfinance lurker. So they're always listening. They're always listening. Okay, very good. We're moving on to this week's Doots. Looks like we got a pretty healthy list here. We're going to rock and roll. User stablecoin covers a concerning bill amendment in the States. These amendments are in committee still and likely will be tough for Brad to get his way this time. This is Brad Sherman. He just cucked the USA again by effectively banning peer-to-peer crypto, amending shit last minute into a must-pass defense bill. Shoving it in the defense bill. Every node connects to Russia. Every transaction must be doxxed. There is no escaping this hell until the tech is so innocuous and private, it's impossible to regulate. This is California Democrat Brad Sherman filing the amendment. And there's a tweet from Eleanor Turret. Number one, the U.S. Treasury Secretary would have, quote, clear authority to prohibit digital asset trading platforms and transaction facilitators under U.S. jurisdiction from transacting with cryptocurrency addresses that are known to be or could reasonably be known to be in Russia. And number two, FinCEN News, that's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, would be able to require U.S. taxpayers engage in a transaction with a value greater than $10,000 of cryptocurrency offshore to file a FinCEN report form 114. Way to go, Brad Sherman, trying to shove it in the defense bill. That's what they do, man. That is like the old playbook. Is we have to do this in the name of national security. They say national security, we got to fight terrorists and all this other stuff. It's just a rug pull on the 99% of the people. It's just surveillance stuff. Domotheus, moving on. I got to move on before I go off. Domotheus used a cool tool to prevent someone getting rugged by a honeypot. Honeypot.is. It says run away, execution reverted. Looks like the code says transfer helper : transfer from failed. The taxes on this token are extremely high. You will get significantly less from a trade than expected. Be careful. A very high amount of users cannot sell their tokens. This is likely a honeypot. And that is from Domotheus. Stablecoin, I forgot to look up his Doot number. Domotheus is a Deuter 32. User stablecoin is a Deuter 63. Very good. User Suburbiton explains why the long tail of assets hasn't pumped yet. From Twitter. People don't understand why markets pump, how the flow of money works. The first tier of money goes to top tier stocks and government bonds, then to high level private equity and private credit, etc. Then it flows to higher risk bonds, then to higher risk stocks, to top tier corporate bonds, lower tier private equity and alternative investments like Bitcoin. Then, after everything is filled, money flows to high risk, high risk, like altcoins, etc., and alt stocks, penny stocks and whatnot. The reason no altcoin or even Ethereum has hit a new all-time high or broken or even come close to breaking 2021 highs is because there isn't money to make it that far. You need liquidity events in market to reach the far depths of risk. That far depth gets touched once everything else is full. Similar to money flowing bucket to bucket. The liquidity event that happened in 2008 and 2020 has not happened yet. Liquidity events are lower rates or stimulus. Without it, you cannot have high-risk products pump. In January 2024, the market was pricing in a huge liquidity event for 2024. 7 rate cuts. This is why everything hit 3-year highs. This, along with the Bitcoin ETF, got us to a new high on BTC and saw many alts climb several 500 to 1,000% from 2022 lows. That liquidity event never materialized. We went from 7 cuts to 3 cuts to a shock 1 cut now for 2024. The only way for market to go back up to all-time highs across the board is for liquidity events. Unfortunately, if we get a shock event like COVID or something else black swan that forces the Fed to cut rates quicker or a hard recession, it's usually too late. Market will crash ahead of it. That crash you buy and ride it back up to the liquidity event. The Fed has decided they don't want to cut aggressively. They're going to cut in December this year and then next year. This will probably result in a recession, or maybe we just see a soft landing and gradual cuts over the next 2 to 3 years. That scenario market will slowly grind up over the next 2 to 3 years, and we might see altcoin highs during that time. Market is forward-looking, so it can always change. If we approach a recession worse than expected and say your employment ticks up to 5%, then the Fed will cut. But by then, we will see a big dump in market on recession or stagflation fears. It's always a tough battle. The last 15 years of bull markets were on the back of liquidity events. This is the first time we have no stimulus. It's a different ball game. It's a much tougher grind market for high-risk assets in such scenario. That's why all money is flowing to easy tech stocks that are giving better returns than crypto. Nobody wants to risk anything because there is a no liquidity event. There is no liquidity. Okay, that's poorly worded, or I'm reading it wrong. Of course, things can change, but that's the state of the market, and that is courtesy of Wizard of Soho on X. Brought to us by way of Suburbiton on Ethfinance, a Duder number 3. Ethical Trade looks at the difference. Moving on, Ethical Trade's way up on the list. I think Ethical Trade's probably on the top. Yeah, Duder 77. He's a royalty-free music producer. Interesting fun fact about Ethical Trade. He goes, remember that Solana chain everyone was so worried about a couple of months ago? Solana currently has a 4.24% total value liquidity market share over DeFi, or total value lock, sorry. Ethereum has a 60% market share, including L2s, and it's closing on 70%. Include EVM chains and side chains, and it's over 90%. A part of me used to wish for ETH to remain king on all fronts, including meme coins. My worst case scenario used to be, quote, even if everything fails, there'll still be demand for Ethereum to be the internet's casino, which will require ETH for gas and more demand, and this usage will burn ETH, so less supply. So even in the worst case, price goes up over time. But meme coins have migrated to Solana. Is this a bad thing? Well, not anymore. Given the recent surge of L2s, the transaction cost drops, the ETF, and the institutional demand for tokenization, the worst case scenario is far better than it used to be. The complete vision seems to be happening. Green and scalable. Ethereum becoming the world settlement layer isn't a pipe dream anymore. It's becoming a realistic scenario. Today, Solana is alleviating Ethereum from scams, grifters, and hopefully regulator attention. It's taking the garbage that didn't require decentralization to function out of our ecosystem. Ethereum is taking everything else. Yes, well said. I fully agree with that. Let's see. User Bart Hib is making sure you don't miss all of the bullish news. User Bart Hib is a Duder number 32. In case you didn't see it yesterday, the Wall Street Journal figured out that stable coins help the American dollar to stay relevant because everyone in any country can and do hold and use USDC or USDT and provide the American state with buyers for their debt indirectly in the sense that Circle and Tether convert the USDs of their customers into bonds. Guess which blockchain hosts 70% of the TVL of stablecoins? Here's another bullet. BlackRock reiterated that public blockchains are more secure and offer more opportunities than the private ones. Moving on, the commissioner of the SEC stated that tokenization is the future of financial markets. I'm wondering who that was. I have a guess. Eleanor Terrett. Mark Huey. Let's see. According to Fox Business, Eleanor Terrett, Mark Uyeda of the Securities and Exchange Commission has praised tokenization despite his agency historically being a hostile stance towards blockchain and crypto. So that's a name I haven't heard. Mark Uyeda from the SEC. Sounds a lot like our favorite lady from the US, from the SEC. All right, moving on. 696_ETH reflects on the ZK Sync airdrop from a farmer's perspective. And if there's somebody that's a farmer, 696 is at Duder number 81, way up there on the list, 696. For the farmer's point of view, the $ZK takeaways, ZK airdrops, and his personal experience. The bullet, variety of strategies. It really paid off using different strategies. And although medium and small wallets basically got nothing, it was a good bet to try it out. Focusing on more than one big quality account was really smart. And that's one of my key takeaways. Have 5-ish big, juicy, legit farmer accounts with deeply rich history and previous qualifications and go at it. It also allows for easier and more pleasant farming because it's not that tedious to repeat. Give up small sibling accounts. ZK Sync had 9 million plus wallets and only roughly 696,000 qualified. It makes no sense to continue using low value and quality wallets while spending one's time and energy. Farmers are not going away. Thus, you'd still need to stand out in a sea of hopeful airdrop chasers. Next bullet. Farming can be Z-way. Great risk versus reward. Airdrop farming can be profitable due to great R&R. You have, risk reward. You have a capped downside of how much money you will burn on gas fees, NFTs, and whatnot. And you have quite unlimited upside. Yes, ZK Sync had a cap at 100,000 points, but that would have been more than enough to guarantee an insane upside. Bullet, sibling is a must. Due to the upside being capped sometimes, we have to hedge ourselves, or like in the case with Eigen, lower value accounts are rewarded for being too low a value, LOL. For these reasons, it's important not to whale projects unless there's a transparent structure of unlimited upside that aims clearly not to forego the whales. And here's the overview. I've heard and been told that it's too late to start farming, yada, yada, but a decent chunk of ZK, considering that I started late with no prior knowledge, is a great accomplishment. Airdrop farming was and still is one of the most lucrative ways to gain the edge. However, I would argue that the edge lies in whaling some metrics or in the ability to access those resources to pump up your stats. And lesser accounts without that capital are unable to compete, therefore missing out on the great risk-reward play, which in turn makes it worthwhile for lower value portfolios. Time and effort is no longer enough not to just outcompete, but to even have a decent chunk of making it. And he's got he mentions his ZK price speculation. At current pre-market prices of roughly 30 to 35 cents-ish, it would be open at $7 ish, 21, given the 21 billion total supply. To me, that would be a hold. As always, I expect to dump at the open, but being realistic, even if I'm not that skillful to be one of the first to dump, I won't be able to buy back lower. Historically, it has been true to wait for a pump within days or a week, sometimes up to 16-ish days, or in rare cases, for up to 1.5 months. With those things in mind, I can see a dump, a post-dump pump, and I'm personally hoping for a cope pump. Man, I learned a new phrase today. You know, that type of pump that TIA had. Ideally, I'd get roughly 70 cents-ish and exit. What are your takeaways? Very good. Thank you so much, 696, for your farming attributes. Benito 2030. Gosh, this guy right here. He is so high on the list. Where is he at now? He's got it. He's a 128. He shares our ZK Sync delegates while user Web of Trust discusses his delegation experience. Benito 2030 goes on. I just played around with ZK Sync DAO tool and delegation portal, and the search is not optimal. I wanted to add an ENS after not having one when setting up the profile, and I did, but you can't find mine or any profile via ENS. That's interesting. I think StarkNet used the same tool, which is Tally, as well. And I thought it didn't work because StarkNet has different addresses. You also can't search for usernames. It seems to not be working by default. So a quick summary for tomorrow in case you're not jumping on day one. Here's your delegates. User Harog, and there's an address. User _ Web of Trust. And user Benito 2030. I guess searching for the address is the easiest since I expect claiming and delegation to be one process. You probably can skip delegating and then go to the profile and delegate manually, but doing it in the claiming process is more comfy. I'll repost tomorrow morning as well. Okay, ZK, let's see, reposting. Okay, user Web of Trust. The claim is still not working for me. I changed to a custom RPC, but Rabbi is not responding. However, there is some hope on a related topic. Every time I used to look at the DAO governance, I would see the same faces as delegates with only token-based governance, which never motivated me to contribute or participate. Everything changed when Optimism governance was announced, plus a few other things. I just looked at ZK Sync. I looked at the ZK Sync delegate page. The Ethfinance delegate combined has a voting power of more than 10 million ZK Sync. That's Benito, Harog, Liberosist, and Small, SMOL. Amount delegated to me as well. This might be a fraction compared to what SyncSwap or Olympio, but the point of my rambling is to highlight a change, a positive change that I wanted to see. New faces, views, opinions, and ideas, not just projects representing themselves as delegates, but also community members. Even though they are invested directly, they care about the ecosystem, and I want to drive it in a positive direction. Harog DM'd me on Farcaster to create a profile as they could not see my profile there and time was running out. Benito took this initiative to form a sort of delegation council emerging from Ethfinance. To me, I don't see any financial benefits they might be getting for doing this apart from their belief in helping, improving, and contributing to this evolving system. So, my dudes, thank you. And I look forward to reading more from you outside this forum. Thank you very much, Benito 2030. User Cryptard285 shares the big W for the day. Oh, risky username. Duder level 28, Cryptard285. Ethereum survives the SEC. Oh, yeah, this is the awesome announcement. Major win for the Ethereum developers. It's the tweet on x.com from Consensus. The SEC will not bring charges alleging that the sales of ETH are securities transactions. Very good. Wow, Harog getting another mention here on the Weekly Doots has a DevCon announcement. If you plan to go to DevCon this year, the first opportunity to get a ticket just opened. It's a raffle. You bid on tickets. The 20 highest bids get a ticket, and then 184 are raffled among all the participants. The minimum bid is 0.08 ETH to participate. The raffle will be open until July 9th. On July 9th, they will open a discount ticket to which you could apply and plead your case on why you're an important part of the Ethereum space. Oh my God, imagine reading those and having to make a decision. Oh, kill me. All right, and finally, wow, double Weekly Doot. Harog smashes a double Weekly Doot. Summarizes an article on why stakers are sometimes miss attestations. This should be interesting. Lighthouse devs released a blog post about attestation misses. It goes into a lot of details on the path from attestation creation until it is included in a block and discusses all the possible ways an attestation might not get included due to failures at any of the intermediate steps. It also shows how to analyze the origin of possible misses in the logs and their Grafana dashboard. This part is obviously focused on how to do it with Lighthouse. All in all, it's a great read. The take-home message is that quite often attestation misses are outside of the user's control. To minimize attestation misses, the user can make sure that their clock is synced, has opened the necessary ports to get enough peers, and have a hardware setup which does not have a bottleneck, such as the SSD, the CPU, and bandwidth, to make sure to get to attestations out efficiently as possible. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is your Weekly Doots, this episode number 69. I don't know if anybody has any parting thoughts here, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show. Yeah, that was fun. That was a good episode, man. It's good to be back. I spent 4 days camping on a beach. I was looking at the phone from time to time. I had internet access, so that's why the price is doing what it's doing, right? That's what we do. We blame the campers that have internet access. I will raise my hand.
This is so stupid. There's going to be an ETF listing in 2 weeks or something, and the price is going down. This doesn't feel like the market front ran the opportunity here. This feels like the market's being irrational, and going to be a fun remaining of the year. Yeah, I agree. The post that was on the weekly here up above about the macro stuff with the rate hikes and the rate cuts and the liquidity events in like 2008, blah blah blah. It's like, boy, I tell you what, if we're fighting an uphill battle at this price, I think all we got to do is just grind. I feel like it's just going to be a grindy thing, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's just pop's going to come off. I say the top's going to come off and we'll get a big pump, but then, it'll correct again. It always does. It's going to be exciting to see. I think the kind of the widely held, speculation is that 20% of BTC inflows on the Ethereum ETF would be a really good amount of money. We'll see. I'm kind of in the camp that it could outperform things pretty quick too, because just BlackRock is bullish on tokenization, along with just the facts about the amount of USDC and stablecoin interest in the US dollar. I can't remember how many. I think they said trillions of dollars of, I don't know if the word velocity is correct, but just the amount of volume of USDC that's getting swapped back and forth, out there in the world. It's kind of it was like a measurable amount compared to, say, oil or whatever. Cause I don't know. It can't be ignored. It just, US has to get their head out of their ass and figure out how to do this and try to make it bipartisan as much as possible. Well, that's it for me today for this 69th episode. I can't believe 69 episodes for this June 21st. Thanks again to Brendan Asselstine from PoolTogether for dropping by today. It was wonderful talking to you. Check us out on pods.media, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just search EVMavericks. Stick around after the live stream because we continue the party in the hotel lobby on Discord for a bonus hour of popcorn. It's a fun place to let loose when the parents aren't watching on YouTube. On behalf of Ethfinance and the EVMavericks DAO, my name is JT. Cheers and big hugs from Kansas